had a theory about Jesus. How do you guys stand on the character of Jesus?
On the character of Jesus?
Yes, it's the actual physical body of Jesus, the character himself.
Well, I don't necessarily know that there was an actual physical body, but I'm okay with the idea that there is. And when I consider the things that he's reported to have said and done, some of them are good, some of them are awful, some of them are meh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have it's pretty much a simple theory about him myself. It is, didn't he have some lost years when he went off somewhere and did something?
Well, we don't know what he may have done. John Prine wrote a really good song called Jesus, the Missing Years. There's, lots of speculation. There's nothing in the Bible about it. Basically, he goes from being, 12 and chastising or showing how well he knows the Torah to having a ministry at 33. I'm pretty sure that, I'll skip the joke and let you get to your point.
Sure, absolutely. My theory is that he came back after these so-called lost years, and he basically went and told everyone that this is just a wild theory. Stop believing in all these other religions. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop giving your money to the churches. And when the Jewish faith or the Judeo-Christian, whatever it was at the time that crucified him, when they heard about this, that's the first thing they looked up and said was, kill him. And then they killed him, and then the pen writers wrote whatever they wanted to and called it the Bible.
Okay.
That's just a theory that I have about the whole kind of...
Well, in keeping with my trend of being overly
highly educated.
Overly pedantic today, I'll say it's not a theory. It is a loose hypothesis.
Well, I'm sorry?
No, it's fine. I'm on my overly pedantic kick where I correct things that may not be significant, but could be. So a theory
very precise,
has a specific usage in science, but you're not doing science, so you can go with the colloquial, this is what I pulled out of my butt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you may have really good reasons to believe it, but I mean, we're actually kind of on a par with that. One of the things is he was he was reportedly killed for putting himself co-equal with God. Were they pissed off about him, running the moneylenders out of the temple? Yeah, probably. But there's the interesting thing to me is I just moderated a debate on whether or not Jesus actually existed as a real historical figure or whether these are just stories. I tend to come down at least marginally on the side of Jesus was a historical figure or there was some person that we've glommed stories onto. But if you go through the Bible and you pull out anything that we can't reason, anything that's supernatural that we couldn't possibly verify anyway, and other things, what you get is the things that aren't extraordinary are that you have an itinerant Jewish rabbi who's got some followers and said some things, but we don't really know what those things were.
Right.
And stories that were, passed down through oral traditions. And then we have copies of translations of copies of altered translations of copies and no originals. and so at the end of the day, if there was a real historical Jesus, okay, fine.
Yeah.
If he was who modern Christians say he is, and I'll switch from was to is because they think he's still around, then why is there any question at all about any of this? Why is it that the Gideons are running around putting Bibles in every hotel room if modern people cannot possibly reach the right conclusion from it? You can't understand it. Why is it that you have to become expert in dead languages and archaeology and anything in order to have a rational foundation to believe this? Because it doesn't make sense with the model. Let's imagine for a moment that I'm God, and we'll imagine that I've made the colossal list of errors that lead me to the point where I've decided the best solution is to have a portion of me come down and take human form and be tortured and killed to serve as a substitute for other animal slaughter to make up for sins, and then I spend a portion of a weekend dead, and then I get to come back and be with me forever. Let's set aside whether or not that makes any sense. If it were, in fact, if it did happen and it were important, and it was the most important thing people could possibly question, if it was the most important thing that people could ever understand properly, why would I ever allow all the originals to go away, no eyewitnesses, no authorship of these, no way to verify this information? Where's the Bible 2.0 and 3.0? And why the hell doesn't God just show up and say, hang on a minute, this is important, here's what actually happened? None of that makes any sense. And so whether or not there was a real person behind it is a separate issue from whether this story makes sense at all, and it doesn't. Only an idiot would proceed with the most important question and not give sufficient evidence for it, and allow this issue to be debated for millennia, and allow it to divide families and homes. This is a question of truth. In much the same way that people were dismissive about a lot of conversations this past week and saying, oh, it's just politics. No, it's not politics. It's values. Oh, yeah. It's about what kind of world you want to live in. Dismissing it as politics is akin to saying, well, it doesn't really matter whether we know accurately what Jesus said. Yes, it does. And the modern church is built on what Paul said anyway. But enough of my anti-Christian rant.
Hey, don't feel bad. I used to be Southern Baptist, so.
Yeah, right there with you. But thanks for the call, James. I appreciate it.
That's right. No, I've actually seen quite a few of your little episodes and stuff on YouTube, and your some of your conferences, and love the stuff, man. Love this. I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The question that was actually listed there, which I'm not quite sure we got to, and now I'm sorry that we let him go. He's a new atheist. And is asking the question, what's next? What's atheist life? Do you have an answer for him? Are you going to make a pronouncement about what atheist life is?
No, because I've never not been an atheist, so what's next kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I haven't studied the Bible and Christianity, and so to me that's just kind of this kind of weird story, and what's next is just living your life.
Yeah. It's not any different. John was never a believer, so doesn't have this, but I was a believer. And the what's next question, well, for me, it was pretty simple. I care about these discussions. I want to engage. But the nice thing is you're no longer living, or think you're no longer living, under the watchful eye of some cosmic dictator who's got a plan for your life and is moving you around like a puppet, or allowing you to move around a little on yourself and then smacking you when you don't do it the way he wants to. You're now the captain of your own ship. You get to figure out what your life's going to be about, and you get to try to do the right thing, the things that's not only best for you, but best for the society you live in, because you should never forget that it's rather myopic to think, oh, this is best for me, without exploring the consequences of those decisions on the reality you live in. It may be the best thing for me to go rob a bank right now, and even if I had absolute confidence that I wouldn't get robbed, I may still think it's the best thing for me to go rob a bank. Man, that sounds amazing. What's in your best interest? Robbing a bank without getting caught. Except it's not. Because robbing the bank has consequences on everybody else. It determines what interest rates people are going to earn. It determines whether or not you're going to be able to get a loan. It determines how much people are going to pay in taxes, how much you got to pay for security. And it may be the case that you end up losing more than you could ever possibly steal, or making the world around you so horrible that the money that you stole is now irrelevant, that it doesn't benefit you in the way you thought. You have to think beyond yourself and consider, what if everybody in the world took the action I'm about to take? What kind of world would that be?
And do you want to live in that world, and how is that going to affect you?